Hello, Mr. Kirioth. Let's have a discussion, sir, about one of the this issue. It absolutely it grates on my soul because it happens to every single MMO game ever, and they know it's going to happen. Every single developer knows this will happen, and they seem to do nothing about it. And what I want to know, or what I want to discuss, is why this is the case. So, if you've not already guessed, this is why MMOs have poor launches. Not poor in the sense of the game's broke, but poor in the sense of server capacity and all the problems that you get that come along with that. So, you can't log into the server and all the rest of it, and why it happens and why it should not happen, Mr. Kirioth. Good goddamn lord.
It's almost as though every single MMO faces the same problems, and yet none of the companies who make them have actually done anything about it, despite the fact that they've seen it happen over and over again to their own products, to the products of their competitors. Oh god, it's baffling. It's just ridiculously stupid.
It's crazy.
Why?
Let's take a recent example then. I'll just clear my throat. So, we've got PlanetSide 2. So I made a video on this, and the video, okay, it had a sensational title. It was, "Will PlanetSide 2 fail?" Of course it won't fail, but what I'm getting at in the video is, will it have a poor launch where servers will be stressed to the maximum, and this is going to have a lasting impact? Because in this society that we live in this world that we live in, first impressions count. If you cannot capture somebody's attention within the first, on their first impression of anything, they tend not to come back. Now, PlanetSide 2 is going to be a heavy. That's literally what we're going to analyse, or we're going to use as an example. It's not unique in its case, and it's not a bad game. However, as it's the most recent one, and it's the one that we've got the most recent experience with, it makes sense. You can extend this to things like Diablo 3 as well, which, you had the whole bloody login problems and everything, and from Blizzard, of all people. But then it happens with World of Warcraft as well. Although, admittedly, not as bad in the last expansion, but it still did happen to some degree. So, we've got a few points that we want to go over and we want to discuss, because I think these are probably the reasons why this problem kind of persists. So, if you'd like to fire away, Mr. Kirioth.
Well, the first issue I had with the PlanetSide 2 launch was the fact that there was absolutely no preload that I could find at all. The game launched, and at launch, you then had to download the finished client. Now, on the one hand, that kind of could have made sense if they were still making changes, if there were little things they wanted to fix, and so they were rolling it out sort of as they went along. But on the other hand, surely that is going to cause more problems than it solves, because the minute that game launched, you had like hundreds of thousands of people trying to download the same thing from the same place. And that is never going to work. It's not efficient at all, is it?
No, it's poor management. I mean, and that completely ties into things with server problems. Now, if you look at this, happens again with like most MMOs. So we've got lack of server population management, but we can also tie that into underestimating numbers and failing to provide for players as and when they connect to the servers, if they even can. And which also, again, then ties into stuff like not having the correct server infrastructure in place. Now, there are a lot of reasons why they do and they don't do this. So, number one, right, when a game is hotly anticipated, it's going to have a surge in potential players. So, PlanetSide 2, these are completely theoretical numbers I'm going to throw out there, but let's say PlanetSide 2 is going to have a steady population of 50,000 players, yeah? That is what the game will play at in a few months' time, and that'll be its population. Now, let's say at launch, it's going to have a population of 200,000 players. So why is it dropped down to 50,000, or what would be the reasons because of this? Now, as I said before, first impressions count. So if you connect to a server, or as in the case of PlanetSide, and again, a lot of other MMOs are exactly the same, on launch day, you cannot connect. Or there's a lot of problems, there's endless queues, you get onto a server, and it's a horrendous mess of, like, god-awful lag. That puts you off then, and it's kind of compounded because with PlanetSide 2 as the example, because it's free to play. You don't have to pay anything to get the game. We've been privy, well, before you jump in, we've been privy to some certain people in TeamSpeak conversations that we've been having with people who are trying to play PlanetSide 2 from Unit Lost, and they're not very impressed, like, they're not particularly people who have followed the game in development and play throughout the beta. They just want to play the game, but they can't. And they are like that is what I was getting at with the old video. You know, will PlanetSide 2 fail? Because they are the people the game needs to capture, not me, not Kirioth, because we already understand the game. We know what the game's about. It needs to capture this other audience, and they completely, drastically, well, epically failed. There's no other way around it. You know, for 2 days, European servers were unplayable.
And the massive thing with that is the fact that with it being free to play, there is no compulsion. If you can't get in to the game that you want to play for 3 days straight, or if you do get in and find that it's just unplayable, you've got no investment. You're not going to go back to that. You're just going to think, well, I didn't pay for it, so what's the point? With Diablo 3, I have to admit I was not impressed with the fact it took about 4 hours to log on, and had I not already paid for the game, it might have put me off even bothering to try it out. But
and you know, Diablo 3 is and any Blizzard game is like, it's a really laughable example, because Blizzard are a gaming company with an absolute shitload of cash. You know, if anything, they are in an ideal position to never have queues to anything. So what happens with things like Diablo 3? So you're trying to log into the game, you're getting a login error. This is because the login server is receiving too many requests. It can't handle them, so it keeps throwing out an error. There could have been different things they could have done, like an automatic login, like a queuing system earlier, although I think they did implement that eventually. But I mean, the simple answer is, why do they not have more servers to handle the initial demand? Now, going back to PlanetSide 2, they clearly had nothing like that in place, and their European servers were really piss poor. Miller was absolutely terrible. You know, this server, we're talking 10 seconds plus lag. That is absolutely horrendous. That is like, good, what the hell is going on here? You know, random disconnects and all the rest of it. How many people have they lost as a result of that? The figure, I know I gave my made up figures of 200,000 and 50,000 after launch and whatnot. They have lost players, and they will never recover those players, because why would they come back?
You've straight away introduced a game where if people log in, they've come to expect that game to be unplayable. And the simple fact of the matter is that had there been some sort of server population management, or even just more servers, that might not have happened. Like, for instance, Miller is completely rammed. Like, you're facing a queue to get in at peak times. I mean, someone yesterday from the Unit Lost platoon had, was it a 450 person queue to get in? And that is purely down to the fact that there's nothing that is preventing people from joining the server. There's no sort of, this is full, it's just this population is really, really high, but you can join anyway if you like, just expect queues. The fact is that whilst people might not like it, there should be some facility to shift people onto other servers, allowing complete character transfers, or even just on launch, if a server gets to breaking point like Miller did, you stop people signing into that server. It becomes unselectable. You cannot join the server because it's completely rammed. You've got 10 seconds of lag, and it's unplayable anyway. But there was none of that. None of that was implemented. So people just joined and joined and joined, and it collapsed under the weight.
That's sort of good and bad, though. I mean, in one sense, you can't stop players from joining a server because their friends might be on the server. They might want to get onto that server. So no matter how crazy they are, they might want to sit in a queue that's going to last for 4 hours just to get on the server. So you can't really restrict people. But what I think, you absolutely hit the nail on the head, and again, this applies to any MMO. If you join a server, which is one of the first servers to go up, and it's inevitably going to get destroyed, you should be given the chance to move that character across. In the example of PlanetSide 2, I have Alpha Squad, and I'd also bought some additional station castles, or SMED books, whatever you want to call them, for the microtransactions, and I've spent thousands on my character. There is no way on earth I want to move that character off Miller. Start a new character. I'd want to move him, and I would have moved him to some of the other servers. I might even have moved him to a US server because they were fairly okay. Now, of course, this is all a pointless argument now because the servers are sorted. Miller's a great place to go and play on, but that's not really what we're getting at. For the first 2 days, it was unplayable. The first night maybe was okay. The second night was absolutely, a massive disaster. And when you then looking at now. Before I go into this, I'm by no means an expert, a technical expert on servers, but this is my layman's point of view on the whole thing. If you have a game and you're going to launch this game and you have got a certain amount of media hype around the game, so you know you're going to get more interest than what you're going to be able to really accommodate based off your initial server infrastructure. You have a temporary increase in server infrastructure. So let's say instead of operating at what you expect to be your 100% capacity, you jump this up to 200%, yeah? But only for the first month, and then you gradually drop it back down to the 100%, because naturally people are going to leave these games. Not everybody is going to play the game solid in any MMO, right? You get people who buy the game, play for the first month, and then leave. Okay, that's a fact, right? That's going to happen. But why are they not accounting for this? Why are they not saying, we know we're going to get this, so we're going to have, our servers are going to be really powerful, we're going to have more servers in place to deal with that, and then after a month's time, or, a few weeks or whatever, you gradually start reducing it down, because the game devs, they can see the population of the servers, they know what's going on, they can see the activity, they can scale it down, but always stay slightly above, so there's never any of these issues. Now, before you jump in, Mr. Kirioth, I think the reason why they don't do this is simply money. Because it's a case of, why waste money on servers which we're not going to use and then we're going to have to get rid of? Okay, that's a waste of cash. But what I would say to that is, it's an investment which is you're going to reap rewards on, because you're going to have an overall higher average number of players on your fucking game, because they haven't left because they wasn't even able to fucking play it in the first place.
I absolutely agree. I think it is down to money. I think it's down to the fact that they think it's not going to be worth having an extra server at the start of the game, because then we'll have to close it down. But I completely agree in that you've got a choice. You put the extra infrastructure in and then get rid of it later, or alternatively, you lose a massive amount of player base because they've tried to play the game that they want to play and found that it's a laggy, unreliable piece of shit that they can't get into because there's a massive queue, and when they do get into the queue, the server is worthless. I mean, which is better? Overstepping the mark and ending up with something that you then close, or massively underdoing stuff and ending up with a massively unhappy player base? Which is better? Slightly more loyal customers, or losing a load of people because they think your game's crap because you've failed to account for how many there are? It should be the second all the time.
It's fucking madness, ain't it, when you think of it like that? It's like, why? What? I don't know the monetary figures involved or anything like that. But to me, that's the way I see the situation. And if there are not people saying that within game companies that are releasing MMOs that have got a lot of, I mean, it's not even just MMOs. It's things like League of Legends as well. Anything which is going to have a high amount of players joining that relies on a login server or some sort of server infrastructure needs to, like, I just don't get it, bloke. Why they don't? Why do they not realise that's the case? It's madness. It's absolutely fucking mad. It's crazy.
And it's not like it hasn't. And this is the worst thing. This is the thing that has sort of got us puzzled the most. It's not like they don't know. I mean, if it was like a brand new thing and it was still experimental and no one was really sure what was going to happen, then you could sit back and say, well, okay, they misjudged it this time. But they don't just misjudge it this time. Every fucking company misjudges it every fucking time. It's like, how many MMO launches?
Ask anybody out there, all you guys who are watching the video, what if you're going to play a new MMO now, and you've played God knows how many MMOs, I've played absolutely loads, yeah? You would not play on launch day, would you? You'd be like, okay, I'm going to come back in a few days' time. That is not the right mentality to have. That's like, what? I'm going to come back in a few days' time? No. I tell you what, it's crazy. And we're going to bring it to a close there, Mr. Kirioth. And what I'm going to say to the guys watching, do you agree with what we just said? Can you think of any other reasons why MMOs always have poor launches, even when they're backed by companies like Blizzard, who have got absolutely astronomical amounts of cash? Why does it happen? It's absolutely madness. And if you are from one of these game companies, then hire me, because I'll tell you how to fix it. Ah! Good Lord, Mr. Kirioth. We're looking forward to seeing the comments.
I'm going to explode. We're going to have to go.
We'll catch you next time, people. Toodaloo!